Joining me now is Sky News US Analyst Michael Ware. Of course, he is no stranger to that place, Iraq, or being on the other side of Iranian strikes. Michael, thank you so much for your time. Can I first ask you about what has actually been achieved so far? 36 hours into Operation Epic Fury, we're talking about 2,000 targets hit, the Supreme Leader killed along with 48 of his closest supporters or part of the leadership. But he is 86 years old. Surely regime change is difficult because there would have been some kind of succession plan in place anyway.
Well, that's right. I believe it's under the current constitution in Iran that there is a mechanism for someone to step in as a quick caretaker. And then they have a clerical council of about 88 members, akin to the cardinals in Rome, and they will then select the next Ayatollah. Meanwhile, you've had the military apparatus in that country effectively beheaded. Now, they're prepared for that. And they're prepared for loss, and they can regenerate quite quickly, and people are immediately promoted, and they know that that's what their task is. I suspect we'll start seeing the Americans and the Israelis working their way down the list of the replacements. So look, we have significantly denigrated Iran's military machine and its ability to really project any kind of power right now. But they're down, but they're not out. As these attacks, these strikes across the Middle East by Iranian missiles testifies that they still maintain some capacity. And one of the most concerning parts right now is that, as we're being told by experts from Iran, is that the command and control structure has been significantly disrupted. So individual unit commanders are operating on their last known orders. So in many ways, some of these attacks are based on the last thing that they were told to attack in case of emergency, and that's what's happening. And so that adds an unpredictability and a volatility to this situation as we wait to see what happens next within the regime.
Michael, there's a few things that are unclear that I think they're shades of Afghanistan and Iraq here. First of all, you know, as I spoke with Jonathan Conricus about the lead up to this, there was the talks in Geneva. Yes, there were the mass protests in Iran a couple of weeks ago. We had military assets being moved there. All of a sudden, this all kicked off on Saturday night our time because Israel struck against Iran, and they were preemptive strikes. What hasn't been explained is what the immediate danger was, or what Iran was planning to do. That hasn't been explained by Israel. The US clearly had intent to get involved here, and that was, it seems to be a clear objective from Israel, but less clear from the United States. Now we're hearing Trump say, well, we plan to be conducting this Operation Epic Fury, for the best part of 4 weeks. He's hoping this is not going to be a prolonged war. Is there a risk that it is?
Well, there certainly is a risk. And what we would all be looking for is for the Iranians to show some kind of sign of de-escalation, because this could drag on and on and on. Now, the American military has the hardware and the troops and sailors and pilots it needs in the region, but keeping them there is very expensive. And with the president saying, oh, this could go for another 4 weeks, we'll just keep going until they blink. That means they'll need resupply. That means they'll need to have more weapons sent to them, and that they can then continue the war and respond to any orders from the commander-in-chief, President Trump. The problem is there's no real sign that you can change a regime from the air. And in fact, in President Trump's social media video post just a little while ago, he was saying to the people of Iran, it's now up to you. Well, the problem with that is that despite all the assassinations and the killings of top leadership in Iran, the institutions of the Revolutionary Guard Corps and the army and the navy, they still remain in place, and the Basij militia. So the people are going to find it very hard to rise up. And as one other expert said, there are Nelson Mandelas in Iran, potential leaders. The problem is they have no infrastructure. They don't have, the ANC, an African National Congress Party, that's battle tested and well organized to support them. So the problem is, unless some serious people in the Iranian military or the Revolutionary Guard turn, which is most unlikely, this will not result in regime change.
Yeah, as I said, Khamenei was 86 years old. He would have been planning a succession, and I think there was reports recently they were planning for his assassination, which has eventuated. Michael, I think the American might absolutely on display right now, and I don't think the Iranian might is any match for that. But there are ways in which it can really, really hurt America. I think we've seen one of those, and more broadly the Western world, by striking the Gulf states, by striking at the airport in Dubai, but also the Strait of Hormuz. And this is, the world's most important shipping lane. Everyone will see oil prices go up. Are we going to see, Strait of Hormuz is something completely different. Are we going to see more attacks on the Gulf states, do you think, or Iran just doesn't want to go there?
Well, right now they're not letting up the Iranians. They just attacked Israel a few hours ago. We haven't seen more Arab states hit yet, but I certainly would not rule that out because, that kind of attack is well within their bailiwick. That's where their strength lies. Yeah. And its unpredictability and how it can upset the host nation of American bases there. And we've had it confirmed that 3 American soldiers have already died. We don't know how, we don't know under what circumstances, but we believe it was in Kuwait. 5 others are seriously wounded. And now we have President Trump in social media video posting saying he expects there will be more US casualties. He vows to avenge their deaths. But that's a sign, I think, that even the Americans don't expect Iran to stop those kind of attacks.
Michael Ware, always good to talk to you. Thanks so much.